All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Techlore Talks 15. I am Henry, and I'm, as always, joined by Jonah as part of Techlore. And today we want to talk about Apple's RCS announcement because everyone hates those green bubbles, and there's still going to be green bubbles, but maybe they're going to be less annoying green bubbles. And we loosely talked about some signal updates that we might cover after that, and then also some Tutanota stuff that we wanted to cover too, because the internet just
Yeah,
loves
just
insanity.
Tuta now. They
Yeah.
changed
Oh,
it.
that's
How do
right.
you
Just
feel about
Tuta.
the new name, by the way?
I actually I have to get used to it because now I got used to saying Tutanota. But I remember
I
when I
know.
first was getting used to saying it, I'm like, this name is it's a lot. So I think once I get used to it, it'll be good. Do you like it?
Yeah, it seems fine. It's a good change, I think.
I think so
It
too.
seems like everyone's shortening their names,
Yeah.
like Proton.
Yeah. Maybe
Tuta feels like it's going to be a name that ends up being a bad word in some other language, but
that's a good point.
I'm sure they looked into it.
I'm sure you saw the Apple stuff. So RCS has been rolled out, and for those who don't know, RCS is kind of the next generation of SMS, at least hopefully, if people start adopting it. So SMS blows in so many ways, and RCS at least adds some more features on top of this, and it allows you to interact on a cross-platform basis. So in theory, you can react to messages between Android and iOS and do all that fun stuff. But a lot of people seem to be under the impression that this means end-to-end encryption between Apple and Google devices or any other Android devices, which isn't necessarily guaranteed. So, what
No.
exactly does RCS entail, and what do we not know yet, and what can we expect so far?
So Apple's only like committed support for the universal profile of RCS, which is like the GSMA standard. Not like if you use Google Messages on Android, Google has built some like proprietary additions on top of RCS, including end-to-end encrypted messaging. But those are all like features of the Google Messages client rather than the RCS standard. Um, and they're of course built in a way where Google has like a lot of control over it. So like with end-to-end encryption, for example, Google owns the key servers that um, like help you exchange keys with your contacts, and that's on a centralized server. If Google even let Apple use it, Apple would have to use Google servers with that service, which obviously they wouldn't want to do. So, what Apple's committed to now, the last I've seen, is that they are going to be working with GSMA to add encryption to the standard. It seems like Apple does want to work on that. But if that happens, it would require buy-in from both Google and Apple to work on that to get it done in like a federated way, because the current version of end-to-end encryption is centralized instead of federated, basically, is where the problem lies.
Got it. Super cool.
So yeah, if that happens, it'll be pretty cool. As far as like privacy and security stuff right now, it's not a big deal until this stuff is confirmed, which none of it is. So it's not going to make a big difference for us at the moment.
Right. Well, I still think from a usability perspective, it's pretty neat. And actually, maybe I don't know. There's actually an argument if they don't roll this out with proper security in place.
Hmm.
I would actually argue it could actually be a negative because previously no one wants to use the crappy SMS messages. You can't even send images in any form of quality to people. And that's normally a direct incentive to say, well, let's use Signal instead or something. Normally I say,
Yeah,
I don't want to SMS you. Let's use Signal. It's better in every imaginable way. But if they essentially make SMS better, but without any security improvements, then it might actually be a harder sell to get people onto better platforms. So I hope that they roll it out with basic security so that like the bar is raised a little bit, I should say. Um,
yeah. It's always good to add encryption to all these apps. It would be a similar situation to WhatsApp, where like maybe your message content is encrypted, but there's a lot of like other data which wouldn't be encrypted at all. So RCS wouldn't protect like any of that metadata and stuff, and that would all be going through multiple parties like the carriers and Google servers. So there's a lot of like, it's not gonna beat Signal anytime soon, basically, but
right,
it would be cool to at least add some protection. Um,
right. This definitely is not going. I actually posted a community post on the YouTube side of things, and I made this announcement about the Apple thing. And some people, I even said in the post, I think, this isn't going to likely ever replace strictly privacy and security focused messengers. But some people
Hmm.
still left comments saying, "Why don't you just use Signal or something?" And it's like, yeah, yeah, I know. That's
Yeah,
that's I don't
gotta
think that's
gotta
the
use
target
Signal.
audience.
I really think, speaking of Signal, like they're working on usernames a lot right now. You can test it out in their staging stuff, and I really think that Signal's gonna blow up when they finally get that feature released. I think it'll be super cool.
I think so. I'm really hoping that too, Um, and it was interesting. The people overall really liked the video that I just put out about usernames, and
Hmm.
I still think some people take issue with the phone number requirement at all and not being able to hide the username, which is valid. But the way Signal functions, I think I don't have a huge issue with it. My biggest issue is by far having to share your phone number with everybody. That is by far
Yeah.
the bigger issue. I think the whole phone number requirement probably doesn't apply to too many threat models realistically when it comes down to if you try to break down the real privacy and security risk. I think it's a pretty high threat model thing to not have to be able to share a phone number whatsoever with a service privately, especially with the way Signal does things. But
Hmm.
that's just my opinion on it, at least.
Yeah, I think that usernames pretty much solves all of like the privacy related concerns. There's definitely an argument to be made that like from a cost perspective, it's difficult for people to obtain a phone number in the first place.
That's a good
I
argument.
was talking to Threema about I was talking about Threema with somebody and they were like, yeah, it costs money, but the total cost to use Threema is so much less than Signal because you don't need a phone number in the first place. You don't have to pay like a carrier, that kind of thing. Like the
Right.
cost of using Signal in some cases is actually expensive. It's not just a free app
Right.
when you have external
It's a good
requirements.
argument. My only counter argument is even if you have a Google account, it comes with a free Google Voice number, and Signal doesn't discriminate against that. So I think if you really just wanted a cheap VoIP number, you might actually still be able to save money on that. Um, but either way, I do agree that the reliance on a phone number still sucks. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Can you get a Google Voice number without a number? Now I'm just asking you. I feel like you have
yeah,
to forward it.
that's another good
So
point. Yeah, I
I
think you
don't think
probably
that is a solution.
yeah you probably do need a phone number to set up Google Voice. That's a good point. Yeah,
So something.
yeah,
It's good that Signal doesn't block voice VoIP numbers. There are other VoIP providers that you could get, but it's just a bar to entry that's kind of annoying.
yeah, definitely.
So, but I don't think Signal's ever going to change that. If we're being realistic, I think they'll always require a phone number. So
Me
that might just
too.
be how it is.
Well, especially with we were going to talk about that too. They published their article about how they're spending likely $50 million a year in 2024, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that the phone number requirement is going to help them with that because it prevents spam and it prevents mass account creations and all that kind of jazz. So I like you don't see that changing anytime soon. So
No. Did you see the figure for how much they spend on like sending those SMS verification codes though?
no,
I don't remember what it was. I'd have to look at the article again.
six
But
million, six
yeah,
million
like
annually
a
goes
substantial
to
amount.
firms paying for the SMS text messages. It's crazy.
It's really fascinating looking at like what Signal spends money on. Not a lot of companies are like super transparent about that kind of thing. But like
Mm-hmm.
you could look at $20 million just towards their employees. So that's what they have 50 employees. That's like $400,000 per employee they spend on
Mm-hmm.
average, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting. Not that they don't deserve it or anything, but it's just
There's some of the
interesting to think
top
about
people in the
for
world
sure.
at what they do, so I'm not too
Absolutely.
surprised by that. But yeah, it was definitely an insightful blog. If people want to read that, it's in the description. It just came out yesterday at the time of us recording this. So it came out November 16th. And yeah, at least it popped up in my RSS feed then. They might have actually published it a little bit before then.
Was there anything else with RCS before we move on?
Not really. I guess.
I know
Go ahead.
I know people were like thinking that it would get rid of the green bubbles, but kind of touched
Yeah.
on that a little.
Yeah, no, the
It'll
green.
still be a separate thing. iMessage isn't going away, right?
Right. And Apple already confirmed the green bubbles will still exist. So hopefully they'll just be
iMessage is
less
looking
bad.
cool.
Hmm?
Oh yeah. iMessage is looking pretty cool though with iOS 17.2 coming out with the new contact key verification. I don't know if you've looked into that at all,
No,
but
no, no. We talked about
Apple's
it way back when they announced that feature, and
yeah,
now they're finally releasing it, like 2 years
it's coming
later.
in the next version. It's already available in the beta, and like their security blog posted like a whole detailed article about how it works. So it's pretty cool stuff,
Super cool.
but we'll see. We'll have to test it out when it comes out.
Yeah, that could be a fun thing to test. Um, my biggest pet peeve with iMessage right now is usability, and it's something really silly, but it's the way you reply to messages. So on Signal, if I reply to a message earlier in the chat, it quotes that message. But in
Uh-huh.
iMessage, it quotes, like if you do, if there's 4 replies, like I send something, you reply to it, I reply to that, it shows the top message as the quote. So it doesn't show you the most recent thing that you're replying to, which
Mm.
is so confusing to me because if I'm responding directly to something someone said, I want to see what I responded to, or I want them to see what I responded to, not what someone sent, 10 messages earlier. So what
Sure.
you have to do is you have to tap the button and see the whole thread history because they treat it like threads. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just an extra click for something that doesn't need to exist, I feel. Um, yeah, I prefer the way
Yeah,
Signal
that
handles
makes sense.
replies.
I can see why you'd say that. I don't think I know a single person that I message personally. I don't think any of them know how to use replies.
Um,
So
that makes
I
it
don't have
easy.
that issue. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this. It'd be really interesting if people actually used Apple's features in the way they intended them to, like everyone at Apple probably does. Because
Yeah.
I was telling you, I can't stand how when I'm creating a contact for someone and I add a photo to their profile, I have to add 2 photos to their profile because of the stupid background and foreground thing, which is cool, but like you said, the implication is people set up their own profile and share it with you so you don't have to set up contacts anymore. But no one does that.
Yeah.
I don't know a single
No.
person or a single contact who set up their profile. I set mine up, but
Yeah, you're in a techie minority for sure.
one big story, which I know I haven't been following too closely, mainly because it seems like there's nothing to follow at all, is the Tutanota stuff. So full disclosure, Tutanota is one of our sponsors, but it's in our sponsorship like guidelines and
Yeah.
our contracts and stuff. We're free to talk about them and criticize them, and we still have our own voice.
Tuta, by the way.
Sorry,
You gotta
thank you,
get used to
Tuta.
the new name.
Tuta. Well, yeah, maybe it's good that I'm getting it wrong so people remember too when I say Tuta, they know what I'm talking about. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, there's all this stuff going around about Tuta is a honeypot based on just someone who's just said it. Is that my
Right.
understanding? Is there anything more to
Uh,
this?
no, that's pretty much what it is. It's on a similar vein to like the protons of CIA honeypot claims out there.
Right.
It's pretty fantastical.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me. You read their terms and conditions and they very transparently say we will comply with law enforcement to our best ability. That's not what a honeypot would say. I feel. I feel a honeypot would go, no, this is like foolproof, and that's what most of them are. We see all these anonymous messengers, and they go, this
Right.
hack proof, this is where you're gonna be, and those are the honeypots because they give you the illusion that like they're foolproof and perfect. But both Proton and Tutanota and a lot of these other services are very transparent about their limitations, and they tell you like, here's our threat model, here's what we can protect against, here's what we can't protect against, and people forget that there's only so much you can do with email. And
Yeah, absolutely. That's
like
been the biggest thing that I've been telling people. Like, if you were super worried about using email for communicating with people in the first place, you should be on like an instant messaging app, basically.
right,
It's going to be so much more secure.
right,
Signal, there's some other options, but
yeah,
we like Signal.
right, crazy. I just it also blows my mind the lack of evidence people need to believe something is true, and the amount
Yeah,
of evidence you have to supply to prove that it's untrue is just so disproportionate. I can go right now and say, well, and that's kind of the sad thing is like people who have influence and whatnot, we can just say whatever we want with very few consequences and probably get away with it. I can go on record and say, I think Brave is a honeypot. You know, I don't,
uh-huh.
but if I said that, I wonder how many people would just believe it without me saying anything else outside of I just think it, maybe just put together some BS stuff. Like they're some of their scandals and be like, they're too money focused. And I don't know how everything can be free. Doesn't make any sense to me. If you look at the finances, how do they have employees in this company? You can find ways to justify something looking like a honeypot. And then the
Right.
amount of evidence, there's no real evidence that they're a honeypot. I would just be saying that. And so trying to disprove that would just be insane. People would go, well, I can't really disprove it, but what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Um, I
Yeah,
don't.
as long as you sound convincing enough, I think. I was just gonna message like ChatGPT and ask, tell me three reasons Brave browse is a honeypot. See what
Oh
it
my
comes up
gosh. Yeah.
with. First thing it says though, Brave browser is not considered a honeypot, so
Ooh.
there's that. But then it tells you about the ad replacement controversy,
They're
the BAT tokens, and their business model, which relies on blocking traditional ads and then replacing them with its own privacy respecting ads.
right. So you can always find a way to justify anything to be a honeypot, and it's like you said, if you have enough influence and you sound convincing enough, I think you can pull it off and cause a
Yeah.
lot of damage, which is scary. So I don't
It
know.
puts Tuta in a weird position, I think, for sure, because they have to prove that they're not something that's always very difficult to do.
Right. And I think their blog article is good. They did publish that blog, and they just said like we're not
Yep.
a honeypot because we're not. And
Right.
it seems silly, but I mean it's true. Like I don't know what else they can say. They're very transparent with what they do, and I think it's crazy. But
Right. I mean, I think like the fact that their clients are open source and that kind of thing all speaks for itself. Like you, if they were hiding something, it would be exceptionally difficult for them to do that after like how many years have they been around? 12, I think.
something like that. They've been around for
So,
a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, and even the Proton stuff. Like Proton cannot be a honeypot, and still that climate activist situation can still happen because all that happened was law enforcement asked for a specific user's information, and all Proton was able to provide was an IP address.
Right.
That's in their privacy policy. It's in their terms and condition. They wrote a blog article, I think, back in 2014, that said under pressure from law enforcement, we can collect an IP address on an individual. So this has been
Hmm.
public info for a long time, and it's not to say I necessarily agree with it. I obviously would hope and wish that there are ways to protect that as well, but there's only so much that these companies can do to still be companies and not be shut down, and
Right.
they have to comply with law enforcement. That's just the way the world works right now.
I mean, and the other thing is like none of these companies are claiming to protect stuff like that kind of metadata. Like really only I think only one messaging company, which is Signal, really like focuses on metadata protection specifically, and then we can see like in court cases where Signal is asked to testify about something like that they can only provide. I forgot what the two data points they could provide were
The
actually,
last
but it
time a
was just
user
like
was
last
online
access.
and the account
Yeah,
creation date. Those are the two data
right.
points. So,
But that like takes a lot of technical work. Like the amount of effort that Signal had to put in just to like enable you to add a profile picture to your account was like years in the making if you look through like their blog posts and stuff.
right.
Like you have to really think about all that stuff. And then with email providers, it's just a lot of that isn't feasible because of how email works. They have to work around that too. So
Mm-hmm.
people have to understand the limitations of the services they use. They can't be relying on Tutanota to get around government intervention.
Right. And something else is, I think, aside from just, I don't think people appreciate the technical work that goes into these services. First, like you're saying, especially services like Signal and Tor and all this stuff, it's insanely complicated, and they spend years, if not decades, putting this stuff together. It's
Hmm.
crazy the amount of know-how these companies and organizations need to have. But the other thing too is like the people who work on them are just brilliant. they they're brilliant. I mean, what Moxie did with Signal is just nothing less than incredible, and it
Yeah.
changed encryption forever. And we like what they're doing now with the quantum encryption stuff. I think is the next era for that, and we're just continuing to see. I'm struggling to articulate this, but I don't think both myself, but especially the community, doesn't fully appreciate the impressiveness of what these services are doing,
Hmm.
because it is insanely difficult to do what they're doing. And then when you actually get to meet the people and like see who they are, it's like, oh my gosh, they're brilliant. You tested the usernames, but you also tested some other stuff that you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. So to test usernames with Signal right now, you have to build like a developer version of um, the Signal app on your computer. And it turns out that their development build has like a bunch of features that they've developed, and they just disable it in their production build. So like the main one that I was looking at was that they have the ability to link an iPhone as a secondary device to another phone, for example, which is something that I've wanted Signal to do for a long time, and it turns out that that feature has been there for years,
Which
and they just have it disabled.
right,
So
which makes sense because it's on the iPad app.
right,
So
whatever
yeah.
Signal.
Yeah, I mean, and for people who are curious why we care about this, if you've been kind of following my Signal journey the last few months, especially, I tried using Signal on the Punkt, but I mentioned how it just doesn't make much sense for that device. But they did release multi-device support, kind of, that I still need to test out. But we were talking about how it would just make more sense if Signal allowed you to have multiple phones as a device, because Signal doesn't allow you to link two phones on the same account. You can only have one phone and then only desktop devices, or the only exception to this rule is the iPad. You can set up an iPad as a linked device, but we were always talking about it makes more sense to have the Punkt be the linked device in the chain, and that way you can have so much more versatility in what devices can use Signal. Especially for people like you and me who probably use more than one phone for different use cases, it would make sense to be able to have Signal on multiple
Right.
devices on different phones. Um, and
I mean, that is really a niche use case, I'll admit, but it would be nice to be able to like switch between my Android phone and my iPhone, for example, without having to carry both of them around if I want to get my Signal messages.
right. So I don't know. It'd be cool if they rolled that out publicly so I could formally hop on that because it sounds really neat. But yeah,
I don't
my
know.
alternative, which is I set up Molly on an Android device, and that has that feature built into it. And I have a feeling that Molly didn't build that feature up from the ground up. I assume that just like how you could enable it on iOS, I assume that you can do it on Android as well.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Yeah. Molly's nice. It's a little buggy though. It always crashes for me.
Is it
Yeah.
really? I
Yeah.
haven't tried it out in like a few years, I think. So
Yeah. It's a nice app. It's just like using Signal, but it crashes more. A lot more. For better or for worse, WhatsApp has been making some good moves, Signal announced usernames and then WhatsApp announced usernames as well. And now WhatsApp is also letting you hide your IP address during calls, which I think is probably a response to that research article that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago talking about how Telegram still leaks your IP address to your contacts because it uses P2P.
hmm.
So I don't know if this is a response to that or not, but I think it's cool nonetheless that you can hide your IP address because WhatsApp does the same thing where it does peer-to-peer connections between users, which Signal does as well.
Right. Unless you disable it.
Right.
Is WhatsApp adding like just a optional feature like Signal has where you can proxy it or?
Yeah, so it says here with the feature enabled, all your calls will be relayed through WhatsApp servers, ensuring the other parties in the call cannot see your IP address. The feature can be enabled under advanced privacy settings in the app.
Got it.
So yeah, it's just an opt-in thing. So I do think that was probably a response to that. But yeah, WhatsApp is kind of trying to compete a little bit, which is cool. I don't use
Yeah,
WhatsApp,
it's
but
good. It's good if Signal can push like the industry forward. I still wouldn't use WhatsApp.
well, what else is new?
Uh, all these crazy themes on the forum.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, the black and white one was fun. I'll include some photos or something. But yeah, if you're on our forum, Jonah was just you can tell him.
Yeah, I was just messing around with different like discourse themes. There's a bunch of different ones. I installed a few on the forum, so you can actually try them out if you wanted in your like personal user interface settings. You can swap between them, but
Did you keep the
there's a
Craigslist
really
one?
I did keep the Craigslist one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
It's a really unhinged theme. You guys should check it out.
Yeah, then you can live in the world of Craigslist while learning about privacy and security. Because that's what everyone needs. Oh my gosh, I wish I had more Craigslist in my life. That doesn't stress me out at all.
Absolutely.
Dude, people on Craigslist bug the living hell out of me. And I hate to say it, but a lot of it's the men. Like they just don't text. Like I'll ask I know you've heard me complain about this so much, but if someone's selling a phone or like a used Pixel 6 or Pixel 7 or something, I'll text and I'll go, hey, because they don't include any information on the listing, of course. And so I send them a text going, hey, saw your listing on Craigslist. Thanks for, posting it. What OS is it running? Are there any scratches on the phone? Is it unlocked? How much storage is on it? basic questions I want to know before taking time out of my day to drive. And they'll just respond with something like, yes. or or just like 3 words, and it doesn't even acknowledge one of the questions because I don't know what they're talking about. And that's not just one person I'm complaining about. This is a universal experience I have with Craigslist. And when I'm selling to or with women, it's just not an issue. And obviously I'm generalizing here because there can be men who communicate super well on Craigslist. There could be women who communicate terribly, and whatever in between doesn't matter. But that's just been my experience, and I just hate Craigslist because of that. It's just no one talks and actually seems to want to sell things. Like, do you want me to buy your phone? You should tell me about the phone. Uh,
Oh man,
do you sell?
I have some crazy, crazy Craigslist stories.
Oh, really? Do you have a favorite?
Probably the best one was I was selling like this table and chairs. There's like a table and 2 chairs, and this guy comes, this guy comes up, and he's driving like a pretty small Kia, and he drives up. I'm like, how do you expect us to fit this in here? First of all, he thinks this guy, unironically, he's probably like in his 50s or 60s. He thinks that we can lift the table on the roof of his car and strap it to the roof of his car.
Did it work?
Crazy. We did not do that.
Oh,
I
so
did
what
not let him do
happened?
that. We figured out a way to jam it in his car. It took a lot of work,
Oh my
but
gosh. I'm
it all
shocked it
fit.
worked.
Yeah,
I
he
think
had like no room. It's hard. It's hard selling things online.
it is. That's actually one nice thing about Facebook. A lot of people really speak highly of Facebook Marketplace. And
Have you ever tried it?
no, I don't have Facebook. So
Yeah.
I'm not able to try it. And the only opportunity I had to try it was one of my exes had Facebook Marketplace, and I asked them, "Hey, can I just post a couple things through your Facebook account?" And they said no. And that was it. That was end of discussion. And I go, oh, okay, that sucks.
I
So
kind of can't. That's
what?
weird. I can't imagine that Facebook Marketplace would be any better than Craigslist, but
Well, the
I
difference,
don't know, man.
we've talked about this in the previous Techlore talks. The difference with Facebook Marketplace is you're pretty much KYC'd on the platform, and you can see someone's profile and who they are and if they've been on Facebook for 10 plus years. That's
Uh-huh.
very different than just random anonymous person on the internet with nothing to lose and no personality posting there. Um,
Maybe.
so I think it's a different vibe, mainly because you can see someone and who they are, and you have better faith just based on the profile, um, if they're legit. But I don't
Yeah.
know. That's
I don't know if like being a Facebook user for 10 years makes somebody less annoying though.
that's
So, so there's
that's fair
that.
too. Craigslist for days on my end. I really like Craigslist.
Hmm.
They clearly are just naturally privacy respecting. They require almost no information to post anything. It's very just offhands. It just lets people handle it how they want. And I'm shocked they've been able to run this way for so long. I don't know how, I'm sure people have been like hurt or killed or robbed or scammed plenty of times from Craigslist, and I don't know how or they've been able to get away with it for so long. Because normally by now the government would have stepped in and gone, "Hey, no, you're responsible for what happens on your platform, and you can't just let people post scams and whatever on your platform without double checking it." So I don't know how that's.
Well, they did have to get rid of the personal section.
Oh, did they?
That was a big thing, remember?
No, I didn't know there was.
You don't remember
I don't
that?
know what
Oh.
personal section is. What is that?
You didn't even know there was a personal section?
No.
Oh, it was like
Is that like fun stuff?
just like yeah,
Okay, got it.
to meet people, to
Got
meet
it.
people.
Got it right.
So there were different boards. There was like men seeking men, men seeking women, women
Oh.
seeking men, and then you can post ads there. That was a big thing.
Oh.
Like 5 years ago
Oh,
is
so they
when
did get
I
rid of
don't know
it?
when they got rid of that. They were forced to get rid of it.
Interesting.
It must have been sooner than 5 years ago. Oh, it was 2018. Dang, I have a good memory. That I
Sometimes
remember
you do.
that I remembered something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, FOSTA, Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act.
Oh.
But FOSTA, I don't know if you were looking into that in 2018, but it was like a big story for a little while because it was like it kind of cut back on Section 230 protections a bit in like that specific category. So
Hmm.
I think the Mastodon instance that I saw shut down was like a pro sex worker instance, basically. And they were like, we just can't have any of this content, so we're shutting down. Um, and yeah, Craigslist, you can no longer seek romance on Craigslist anymore.
Oh
Those days are
man,
gone.
it's a bummer because after I just complained about all the Craigslist people, the next thing I wanted to do was try to date them.
I'm sure that would have improved your dating life so dramatically.
Just a funny story for people listening. In the U.S., we have this chain. By the way, I think Craigslist is. I don't know how global it is. For anyone who doesn't know, I know this is like 20 minutes later, but Craigslist is like a local selling platform in the U.S. I don't know how,
I know it is outside the US
but I don't
because I
think it's as
know it's
large.
used in like Canada, but I don't know like how large it is in other countries.
Got it. Oh yeah, because I've seen Linus Tech Tips. They use Craigslist for some of their scrapyard wars,
Right.
some of their earlier ones. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much a selling platform. You post things online and you meet up locally to buy it or sell it. But I was mentioning to them how I got you into Insomnia cookies. So, because where I live, there's a local Insomnia cookies, and I think it's great, and they have amazing vegan options, and they just have like 3 or 4 cookies. But people who have the non-vegan ones love them as well, and so I kept telling you because I saw that you had one near you. I go, hey, when are you gonna go and try them? I need to hear your thoughts. And now you're all in on the subscription and
Yeah,
everything.
I know. You've really enabled some unhealthy decisions over here. It's not not a good thing at all.
Right. And now I've made you more reliant on your paycheck. So you're not leaving anytime soon because you're like I need to
Yeah,
fuel
oh,
my
is that how
cookie
it is?
addiction.
Yeah, you pay for the subscription to Insomnia cookies. That's the
Yeah.
the big selling point for working on this.
Right. Well, at least you're using that subscription, unlike that Team iVPN subscription I paid for that no one used.
I use that once or twice. But we also have Proton. We have so many VPNs.
Yeah, we do have a lot of team stuff that we can utilize. So
And I don't use a VPN at all usually, so
yeah, it's the video I'm editing right now. I recorded it before we hopped on this call. It was talking about the Mullvad and Tailscale stuff
oh
and
yeah.
how for the first time in years I'm actually moving away from iVPN just on desktop. But I'm pretty much talking about how on mobile I'm using iVPN and on desktop I'm using Tailscale with Mullvad and why. And I somehow remembered that Proton is just always there for free available to me, but I just never want to use it because it's just so subpar to the other two.
Like performance wise.
Yeah, just everything wise. I think performance is fine. It's just I had the most websites block me with Proton, which doesn't really
Sure.
happen for me much with Mullvad and iVPN. I did feel like the stability of the clients was a little bit like the clients just feel slower and more, I don't know, not nice to use for some reason for me. And most importantly is my DNS stuff. Like using NextDNS with Proton is just a nightmare. And
Sure.
like I with iVPN it's integrated in there, and even with Tailscale you can connect to your NAS and be connected to Mullvad and be using NextDNS all in the same connection, all in the same client, and it's beautiful. So no
It's a
regrets.
really nice product. I love Tailscale.
Tailscale's nice, man. It's just nice. You know what they need? They need a Tailscale Insomnia subscription, like inside of your Tailscale
Mm.
account. So when you walk into an Insomnia cookies, like it auto connects to their Wi-Fi and it recognizes your Tailscale account. And you know how you know how Little Caesars has hot and ready. You just go there, you just grab it. You just go in there and you just it's like oh your Tailscale app opens. It's like open number 3, and then you just open number 3 and there's a hot and ready
Absolutely.
Insomnia thing, and then you're good.
Oh, that'd be such a good idea.
That's what I'm
Would you
saying.
believe would you believe that I've never been to a Little Caesars, so
You haven't.
unfamiliar.
You
I know.
haven't. Oh, you're
Is that the
missing
next
out.
thing I should try out?
I'm just gonna get you on all devices. Yeah.
No.
I mean, it was better back in the day because back in the day you could get, I think, a medium or large cheese pizza from Little Caesars for $5. And some people
Pretty
don't like
good.
Little Caesars pizza, but I thought it was pretty darn decent for what you're paying for it. Um,
Interesting.
and
My favorite pizza, this
huh?
is a hot take. It's Domino's
You
pizza.
like
I
Domino's?
get a lot of yeah, I get a lot of flack for that.
I don't mind Domino's. And even getting Domino's without cheese is decent too. Like they make a good cheeseless pizza.
Interesting.
Which for people who watched our cake pay video saw, because that was featured in that video because I paid for that with like cake pay. But why do you like Domino's?
I don't know, man.
It's just good, all right.
Just a solid pizza. It's kind of like I guess it's just the McDonald's of pizza. It's very predictable.
That's fair.
You're gonna get, and you don't get. It's like a very different pizza from other pizza places, but it's
That's
like
fair. Do you know my favorite
it's
pizza
always the
place?
same. What is it?
Mod. Have you?
Never been there
I don't.
either.
Is that a West Coast
I don't
thing?
even know if that's a thing. That's yeah.
Let me look.
How do you spell it?
MOD. Mod Pizza.
Just MOD.
Mod Pizza locations.
Individual artisan style pizzas and salads.
Yeah, think of Subway.
Wow.
You just go through and you just pick your toppings. And it's unlimited toppings. So I eat a lot. And what I hate about a lot of pizza places is if I want to stack up on toppings, it's like $1 or $2 per topping, and I leave spending $30 on a medium pizza, which is just ridiculous. So Mod Pizza, it's unlimited toppings and it fills me up. But most importantly, they have plant-based cheese at all their locations, and they also have Beyond Sausage. And my favorite part, because I don't really like the processed crap too much, but they have chickpeas. You can get chickpeas on your pizza, and they have broccoli and all this good stuff. So you can have like a nice pizza there, and it's predictable and it's tasty. Did you look at their locations?
That's cool.
I'm looking now.
It looks like they're in 20 states, not Minnesota. So I miss out.
Oh man,
We miss out on like a lot of weird restaurants in Minnesota. Like we don't have a Krispy Kreme. I'm still salty about that, to be honest with you.
you're not missing too. I mean, it's very on and off. I think the way I see Krispy Kreme is they're not donuts; they're Krispy Kreme donuts. Like if you're
Right.
expecting a donut from Krispy Kreme, it's just very different because Krispy Kreme is it's just super artificial, ultra sweet, ultra
Yeah, that's
processed.
what I like though.
Yeah, I like that too. But it's different from a donut though, but I like that too.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think you'd
I
like
haven't
it.
been to a Krispy Kreme in probably
Oh, so you've been.
it. Well, 15 years ago there was a Krispy Kreme,
Oh, they shut
and then
down.
they left the state completely.
Wow. You should have
There
gone there
were
more.
like at least five Krispy Kremes in Minnesota, and then they all disappeared. But like it was super cool because um, I was just a kid at that point, obviously, and you could like go in and they'd have that glass window and you could watch the donuts be made. I don't know if they have this at every Krispy Kreme or if it was just at this one, but they had a big machinery that dipped all the donuts and stuff, cooked them all. You
Right.
could watch the whole process.
Right. I
Very
think
fascinating
they
to me.
tend to show it off. It's on most
Yeah,
locations. I've been to some where it's
that's
hard,
what I thought.
but yeah.
But yeah, then they disappeared from Minnesota. They like all left the same year and haven't come back. So
Right.
it's very rude of them, in my opinion.
Right. Well, since we're already so
There's
off topic, favorite like fast food, not pizza specific.
favorite fast food. That's That's a tricky question because it really like depends on. I haven't been going to like any specific fast food
Well,
restaurant
me
more than
neither.
anything
I
else
don't like
lately.
opt for fast food. It's just if I'm on a road trip or something and I have to stop somewhere because I hate fast food. But
Depends on guess it just depends on what kind of food I want. If I wanted a burger, I'd probably just go to McDonald's. Kind
oh,
of basic
interesting.
like that.
Interesting. Yeah. Ah, man, I on my end, I don't see it as Chinese food. It's not Chinese food, but I love Panda. Panda Express is
Okay,
great. Mainly because it's very cost effective. They have good options for me, and it's overall real food, which is better than what I
sure.
can get from most fast food places, especially, and it's also consistent. And I also love, I think this is definitely a West Coast thing. They have Habit Burger here.
Hmm.
But they have a Beyond Burger there, and you can get guac on your burger, and it's good. The only problem is I leave spending $16, and so that's why I don't go there because it's just
Yeah,
insanely expensive. These fast food places are really gouging on costs, I think.
I've noticed that lately for sure.
Yeah, for a while now.
I think
Like,
you get like smaller portions too in a lot of cases
yeah,
compared to what they used to do.
Forum's been nice. I like the changes. You made a lot of nice changes. We have that new AI feature for suggesting
Yep.
topics. You added this. I told this is my pet peeve, but you could never see the OP preview of the person, but now it shows the original poster as well as the most recent poster in the preview, so you can see. Because otherwise, it looks like just the same person made 5 posts if they log in, and they just made all the posts, the most recent posts. Um,
Hmm.
and then what else did you change? Oh, the interface a little bit. I like the new changes.
Yeah,
It's good stuff,
all
man.
just minor stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it adds up. It's pretty nice. All right. Well, thank you for joining me as always. Thank you everyone
Absolutely.
for listening to Techlore Talks 15. I'm excited for the Apple stuff to see what happens, and we'll definitely keep you all in the loop regarding that situation. Hopefully, they roll out end-to-end encryption or some form of decent encryption for this, even if it's not end-to-end. Hopefully at least something better. And hopefully we didn't chatter too much about food and stuff, but if we did, hopefully at least some of you enjoyed it. Definitely leave below some of your favorite fast food places, and if any of you have thoughts on Insomnia cookies or mod pizza or anything like that, definitely leave them below. I guess the only couple call to actions I'll do, if you like this stuff, it's all free. So if you enjoy what we talk about and you get value from it, definitely support us on Patreon, patreon.com/techlore. A huge help. It's one of the main ways we're able to just freely talk about our thoughts on sponsors and stuff like that, because we don't have to over rely on them, but they're still super helpful also for sponsoring us, so we can diversify things a little bit. We also support LibraPay. We're on Ko-fi. We have Monero. There's a bunch of ways that you can support us, and it's all at techlore.tech/support. And also join our forum. Our forum's fantastic. It's super fun and it's super friendly, and people are generally like very welcoming, and I learn stuff there. We stay up to date with things there, and yeah. See y'all next time.
See ya.